Hello, I'm Tracy Rolfe. I'm the author of a series of magical fantasy books called The White Witch of Spiton, and today I'm going to share my first book with you, which is The White Witch of Spiton and the Serpent of Anata. The past. Egypt, 1936. The desert sun beat down upon the hot and sweaty workers. All they had to protect themselves from the sweltering heat were headdresses and thin tunics. Their dark, sun-tanned faces were lined from years of hard work and the burning rays of the scorching sun. Their dry and cracked hands gripped pickaxes and rusty spades. A young boy bearing water quenched their insatiable thirst, scooping ladles of warm water into cups gritty with sand. A group of English gentlemen dressed in starched white suits and Panama hats studied ancient maps. The year was 1936, and Egyptian archaeology had long been at the forefront of great English discoveries. The grand expedition had been carefully planned for many years, and the multi-skilled archaeologists were convinced they would find caskets of priceless Egyptian artefacts. "Harold!" shouted one of the English gentlemen, pot-bellied and sucking his pipe that had blown out long ago. "I can't understand it, old chap. We must have at least 24 men digging this wretched ground, and we haven't struck a single thing." Harold lifted his Panama hat and mopped his wet brow with his damp handkerchief. "Patience, Dickie, old chap," he said, patting his shoulder. "Patience, old man. Rome wasn't built in a day." "I know, old boy," said Dickie, taking the pipe out of his mouth and checking it had not gone out. "But we can't expect these men to continue digging for much longer, not in this blasted heat." At that moment, one of the workers shouted out, bringing everyone's attention to the ground beneath his feet. None of the British men understood his native tongue, apart from Harold's close friend, Oswald Ferdinand. Oswald spoke in Arabic to the excited worker and discovered that at the strike of his spade it hit something solid beneath the soft, swampy sand. Harold and Dickie ran hastily towards them both. "I think he's found the chamber," said Oswald, "but he's afraid to continue digging because he believes the chamber is cursed by the pharaohs." "Hocus pocus gibberish," snapped Dickie, tapping his pipe to release the now dried tobacco. "Get digging, man," he ordered, grabbing the spade from the workman's sweaty hands. He shovelled the hot sand to reveal a slab of hard stone. The petrified worker glared anxiously as Dickie uncovered his find. He shouted several words of warning in Arabic to his friends and then ran away. His distraught colleagues chatted amongst themselves, appearing too frightened to step closer. Dickie suddenly had a bright idea and flashed 2 coins in front of their strained faces. It did the trick, and the men reluctantly approached him and dug around the perimeter of the slab. Finally, they were able to push and pull the slab off the chamber. "It weighs a ton," said Oswald, pushing with all the strength he was able to muster. The heavy slab grinded noisily, setting his teeth on edge. "It's deep," said Dickie, peering down into the darkness. "You'll need a rope to get down there." "Do you want to be the first?" asked Harold, wrapping a thick rope around his arm. "No fear," said Dickie. You'll never be able to pull a great lump like me back up again." "I suppose you have a point, Dickie. Besides, you're stronger than all of us. Oswald and I will go down, and we'll need a couple of torches." Dickie wrapped the rope around his large stomach, gripping it hard. Harold did the same and gently lowered himself over the edge of the dark chamber. Oswald lit the torch and handed it to him. The flickering yellow flames illuminated the darkness and revealed brightly coloured paintings of Egyptian gods, goddesses, pharaohs and hieroglyphics covering the ancient walls. Harold was mesmerised by the magnificent, beautiful art, and although it's thousands of years old, it looked as though it had been painted only recently. "I can't wait for you chaps to see this," he shouted. "It's magnificent." Harold glanced below him as he descended deeper and deeper into the darkness. "I hope you don't run out of rope. It seems as though this is a bottomless pit." His muffled voice rose faintly to the surface to reach his colleagues above. Oswald dropped to his knees close to the edge of the chamber. "Are you nearing the landing, Harold? Dickie's sweating like a pig up here, and we've only got a few feet of rope left," he shouted. Harold spotted the sandy bottom. "I'm nearly there," he called. His feet sank into the swampy sand, and he untied the rope from around his waist. "Okay," he shouted, tugging it hard twice. "Come down, Oswald." Dickie dragged the rope back up to the top. Suddenly, a strong breeze came out of nowhere. Harold's burning torch blew out, and all around him was pitch black. "Blast!" he snapped angrily. "Can't see a damn thing." A cold chill ran down his spine, and he shivered. At that moment he heard a faint whisper coming from out of the darkness. "Harold," the haunting female voice had whispered slowly. "Who's there?" said Harold, anxiously fumbling in his trouser pocket. He drew out his lighter, flipped its silver lid, and ignited it with a flick of his thumb. Holding it above his head, he pivoted nervously, searching for his mysterious companion. "Harold," whispered the voice once more. Harold twitched nervously, his eyes darting everywhere. "Show yourself," he said impatiently, his heart pounding in his heaving chest. Suddenly a light appeared above his head, and a large, hot, sweaty hand grabbed his shoulder. Harold froze and waited to perish at the hands of the uninvited guest. His lighter slipped from his trembling fingers and fell into the sand. "Harold!" shouted Oswald. "Where's your torch, man?" "Good grief!" snapped Harold. "You scared the pants off me. My torch blew out, and I heard an eerie voice whisper my name." "How on earth can your torch blow out, man? There are no windows in this place," replied Oswald, scanning the ancient walls with his lamp. "There came a cold breeze, and I heard a voice," said Harold with conviction. "Too much some old chap, I'd say," continued Oswald. He pointed his finger. "I can see something of great interest over there." Harold squinted with his eyes tired, trying to focus through the dusty shadowed beam of the lamp. Kneeling down, Oswald shone the light over an ivory chest, studded with lapis and cornelian. They slowly prized it open to find priceless jewels, gold and semi-precious stones, jars of spices and other valuable artifacts. "This is just the start of it," said Harold. "There must be a burial chamber behind these walls somewhere." He stood up and ran his hands over the cold, rough walls. Suddenly he came across a large recess. "Oswald, shine the lamp over here. I think I've found another entrance." The light revealed a huge tablet of limestone. Harold translated the hieroglyphics out loud. "Death will come on wings of gold to those who dare to enter the tomb of..." But the last words were not clear. "Damn," he said in frustration. "Give me your chisel and mallet. We must open the seal. The sarcophagus has to be in there." Oswald held the lamp steady as Harold tapped away carefully around the outer edge. Slowly but surely it began to loosen, and chunks of stone fell away. "Watch out!" shouted Harold. "There she goes!" The heavy seal tumbled with a muffled thud. Shining the light into the blackness, Oswald could see a casket guarded by two foreboding statues. Harold wiped away the dust from his arms and peered over Oswald's shoulder. "We've done it," he said, patting Oswald on the back. Oswald took off his hat and pushed his fingers through his damp hair. "The inscription on the seal seems to have no name," he said. "Wait a moment. What does that say?" said Harold, shining the torch over the outer casket. Yes, look, I was right." The two men both read the words in unison. "Anata." "What does it say?" asked Harold. I'm not quite sure. I've never seen this language before," said Oswald, frowning. "I have some paper in my bag. Pass it to me, there's a good chap." Very carefully Oswald took an impression of the script with his pencil. "What a find!" He shook his head. "There's not been one like it since Carter discovered Tutankhamun in, 1922? Engrossed in their great discovery, neither had noticed a large, gilded chest until Harold almost fell over it. "More treasures!" chuckled Oswald. The chest was tightly sealed with an unusual binding. Harold took out his penknife and carefully ran it around the lid. "There, that should do the trick," he said. Before their startled eyes, the lid opened, and with it came a blast of cold air. "Watch out, old friend. Could be asps. Deadly little blighters." To their surprise and astonishment, lying inside the chest was a solid gold serpent with eyes as black as jet. Harold's eyes widened. "It's solid gold and no doubt utterly priceless." Carefully lifting it out, Harold popped the serpent into his jacket. At that moment, and without warning, there was a cracking sound. Large pieces of rock began to dislodge and fall dangerously close to them. "What's this? What's happening?" "Come on, we have to get out of here and fast," said Harold. Holding on tight to his find, Harold made it through the entrance and back into the chamber where he had first entered. "Come on, Oswald, there's no time to drag your feet. This place is falling apart," said Harold, frantically winding the rope around his waist. "Hold on to me, old chap, we'll make it. Dickie has the strength of 2 elephants. Harold thought Oswald was behind him, but when he looked back, he had completely vanished, never to be seen again.